So, good morning to you, Jeff. How are you?
I'm doing great, Wayne. I really am. And we were just chatting a little bit about the Hermetic principles. And I got to tell you, I appreciate the fact that you brought that up and the fact that you started studying about that and the fact that I forgot to turn that off. And because was doing, at one time looking at, what we call the spiritual laws and things like that. And I tell you, I'm not saying anything bad about the spiritual laws and all that, but when you get to the root of what things really are, and when you get to the ancient wisdom, which are the Hermetic principles, it really changes things and gives you a much deeper perspective. So thanks for opening so many of our eyes to that, Wayne.
Well, I'm just I'm like you, Jeff. We're on this path going, okay, I think I got this thing right, but hey, it changes people's lives. You and I were talking prior to going live here is that the amount of testimonies that are coming in, that people's lives. I mean, I'm hearing the oldest person I've heard from so far, 84 years old.
Wow.
And he told me, he said, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I mean, that's literally what he wrote. He
Wow.
said, I can now go peacefully. He says, the fear is gone. He says, I have understanding. He says, such clarity. And he says, and, I was almost weeping reading this email.
It happens.
It does, Jeff. It does.
Well,
It's
Wayne, I'm
amazing.
not sure if I got this right yet, but I'm sure I got this now.
I don't know. It certainly provides a lot of answers, though. At least for me, it does. And so as I was coming in here, I had to deal with an email on one of the videos I posted about 7 months ago on ball. And it was on a work of an individual. I think his name was Smith. And it was a theory. And it's amazing, Jeff, how many people take theory as truth.
It really is. And I mean, if you know anything about, the educational system, the scientific system, a theory by definition isn't a proof. It's a theory. So, we think so much of ourselves, Wayne. I think that, and I do this, I know I'm trying not to do it anymore, but every time I get a theory, I'm pretty convinced it's a fact too, but that's not always the truth.
Yes, I know. It's so true. Well, yeah, we've all made that mistake. And
Yes, we have. Some of us more recently than others.
well, if you don't learn to stretch, you'll never know how far you can go.
Isn't that the truth? And this silly old saying, if you shoot for the moon, you'll at least hit the stars. That's kind of stupid, but the theory is good. I like the idea. I mean, if you can always stay safe, you can always stay warm, and you can always stay inconsequential. Do something to stretch your borders. Try something. Be audacious. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? You're
Good
going to
word.
fail. You're going to get a couple good stories out of it, and it'll be fun.
I love that word alone, folks, was worth the price of admission. I love that because it is true. And,
And what did Keanu Reeves say in that football movie? He said, pain heals, chicks dig scars, and glory lasts forever.
and Keanu would know. I love
He
it. He definitely would. And it gets back to the point on listening. Most people that I find don't listen at all.
And no, we did not plan the blue shirts. It just happened.
No, it just happened. I mean, it's snowing up here, 22 degrees. And so this is my newest sweatshirt, Jeff. I know I was telling you. So the universe is made of protons, neutrons, electrons, and morons.
Ain't that the truth?
And as
I
Daffy
was just at the beach yesterday and got a tad too much sun, Wayne. So we're on opposite ends of the country and different spectrums.
but that so well describes the principle of polarity.
Oh, it doesn't it now? I have that show today coming up on that.
Yes, I mean, is that just perfect? Yeah, I mean,
And Wayne, you could adjust, and I could adjust my polarity if I want. Well, that's more of the law of vibration, so I won't get into that one. But we could adjust our polarity if we wanted to. All we have to do is get on a plane.
Yeah.
Either one
Yes.
of us. And we
It's
can
it.
do the same thing spiritually.
And that's the thing that I am learning. Well, two things. You're always learning.
Yep.
Is that these principles have settled so many of the questions I've had inside. Last night I was reading in the Hermetica,
Oh, yeah.
and I finally understand what gravity is about. Now, I do the
You
show
tell.
Monday. Well, in here, so Hermes is talking to uh, who he's being instructed by, which is the all. And the all is,
Imagine somebody smart enough to instruct Hermes.
can you imagine?
Wow.
No. Who was that? Did someone just ring us?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Well, I heard something on this end.
Sorry.
So anyway, here I'm reading, and I learned two things. And I told Lynn, and she looked at me and she says, you know what? You keep on reading this thing, and she said, you're going to get too smart for me. And I said, that'll never happen. And let me find this.
Well, Wayne, I just got this in the mail at your behest, the Kabbalion.
Oh, my man.
And I'm reading the one you're holding, so.
So what do you think?
All I've read so far is like half the introduction. I just finished up The Secret Science my second time through, so.
Wow. Now, of course, here I am. I had this fully marked out.
Of course.
Anyway, the point that I'm trying to get here is that he explains how gravity works, and I never got this. So what you have is motion meeting resistance. Okay. And when the two come together, they form an equilibrium. So every object that is spinning, it's encountering a counter motion to it because nothing is at rest.
Ah, that's right.
Yeah.
So the Hermetic principles even explain modern scientific fact. Yeah. And the more science learns, the more it confirms the Hermetic principles. And that's remarkable. When someone said on my channel in one of the comments, how could people back in Egypt have understood that everything is vibrating? How can people know this? And it's amazing because we get this idea, Wayne, that we're the most advanced people that have ever been around and we're the smartest and the best looking and all of that. But I don't know if that's true, Wayne.
I don't think so. I'm convinced that we have lost so much, Jeff. Can I say something?
Well, the best looking part might be true, but the smart.
Hey, baby. I tell myself all the time, you one good looking dude.
Sometimes you have to. No one else will at times.
Hey, listen. When my wife's not around, the dog doesn't talk. So, yeah. But, when you did the thing last year, I don't know, well, maybe it was last year, I guess, the one on death.
Yes.
Yeah. I had only wished that we had stumbled across this because could you imagine?
It changes everything.
Yeah.
It changes everything. It literally tells you how to be ready for death.
It does. It does.
And there's no mistake. There's no accident that no one's ever heard of these books before.
Oh,
they're being suppressed. They're being oppressed without a doubt.
No, I don't like the Bible. I put it down, but I have to say this. I've always been a student of the book of Hebrews. Mm-hmm. I read Andrew Murray's book, The Holiest of Holies, and which is a verse-by-verse exposition of Hebrews written back in 1898 during what's the word when we have a move of God? What's the word? A revival that took place in South Africa, specifically in the late 1900s. And anyway, my point is, I'm going back and starting to read that a little bit differently. And lo and behold, Jeff, guess what I'm finding? Yes, you're on mute.
What are you finding?
Finding Hermes.
Really?
All
Who do you think wrote Hebrews?
Well, I'm beginning to think that it was someone that got in the back door and I think pulled one over on the Vatican, one over on Constantine, and they should have never put that book in there.
So you don't think Paul wrote it?
No.
Okay. I'm gonna have to relook at it.
Yeah, look at it different because I was at first I thought it could have been potentially Theophilus who wrote it. Maybe it was Timothy, but as I'm reading this now, I'm convinced this guy was a Kabbalist.
Interesting.
And when you read the principles, so Hebrews 4:12, the word is powerful. Dynamis is sharper than any two-edged sword, as you know the verse very well. Mm-hmm. Being able to separate, cut asunder spirit and soul, bone
Quick
and marrow.
Powerful.
Yes. And when I read that, I said, I know exactly where they got that from.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So it changes everything.
And it's interesting because, I'm just thinking of what the people hearing that verse would have thought about. And, people don't understand that the first weapon of mass destruction, or the first modern weapon of mass destruction, was that Roman short sword. And it was about half the length of a normal sword. It was sharpened on both ends. And it was the thing that allowed Rome to conquer the world. And the Roman short sword was quick and powerful more than any other two-edged sword.
It did a very
good job dividing soul and spirit asunder. So it's interesting, the correlations there. And I mean, hey, we are in a fight for our lives, are we not? We're in a fight for our spiritual ascension. And I sometimes, the best defense is a good offense, right?
Oh, boy. And, as you were talking, because, once you study the Roman history and you understand Vespasian's exploits, which are primarily represented in the book of Matthew as the exploits of Christ.
And October 24th, I'll be on the Vinnie Eastwood show with Joseph Atwell, the author of Caesar's Messiah. So
excellent. Calendars. We'll have to make sure. I want to, everyone, we've got to check in on that one because as you find out, as you were talking about the Roman short sword, what I didn't realize is that in the story of the demonic at the Necropolis, that that actually was a retell of the story of what Vespasian did to the 3,000 renegades that had attacked them. And what I didn't realize is that the Roman soldier also in those shields had these things called darts. And these darts would be placed inside the shield. They were lead, weighed about 3 pounds. And the massacre that took place at the Genesis of the demonic was that the Roman soldiers were waiting for them on the lake. And as these Hebrews were running into the lake because Vespasian were pulling them this way, this is where the demons entered into the swine, the 3,000, and ran into the water and drowned themselves. Hello, everyone. I just want to say,
actually, definitely considered the Roman swine.
Yes. And I never realized in that particular battle, which is well documented by Vespasian, is that the Roman soldiers, Jeff, they would take these darts from there, and then as the Hebrews would come up for air, they were being hit with these darts right there in the center. Yeah, so it's a different story than what you read in the New Testament. The four Gospels gives you a scene in Jerusalem as though it was just kind of business as normal, Hey, how you doing, soldier? It wasn't that way at all.
No, it wasn't. It was military occupation.
Yep. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Well, I'm going to look forward to that. That is just, you see, that's favored, Jeff. Having an interview with Atwell, I think, is going to be one that will continue to open people's awareness.
Well, I'm certainly looking forward to it. It's a fascinating take. It's a different take than what I presented in Apostle Paul Antichrist, and that's the beauty of it. The more takes you get and the more opinions you get and the more perspectives you get, the more rich and fuller your own perspective can be.
I agree with my friend. So, Jeff, you and I was showing you this book. I've gotten a number of emails this week. There's a war building in Christendom.
Hmm.
I don't know if you saw that the Pope has declared that Christianity is under full attack by Satan, and that the faithful must begin to start praying to the angels for them to come down and begin to do intervention. There is a move now by the Vatican, starting with one of the bishops in Ireland, who is now starting to train small groups to begin to perform exorcist on people that with on Reiki. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that one.
So if you've been exposed to Reiki or as anything else, as the priest said, that is considered to be alternative knowledge than the Holy Word, this is starting to get ugly. And I swear, Jeff, they're going to come after us. And this book I read, Thomas Horn's book, Blood on the Altar, he contends that the apocalypse is not going to be caused by anyone other than the Christians themselves. That
Really?
Yes, he contends that the contentions, the schisms are so great in Christianity, Christendom. It's no longer Christianity, it's Christendom, that they will turn on each other. And by the diversities of the schisms, they in fact will bring Armageddon to pass.
That's interesting. Back when I was a Protestant evangelist, I used to have a little joke that I would say, kind of, gallows humor, but I would talk about the Christian army is the only one that shoots its wounded. We're about to see maybe the fulfillment of all that.
Buddy, that's worth a donation of $5 at least.
Well, let's pass the plate, ladies and gentlemen.
But that
if
is
you haven't
so.
Subscribe to my channel. Head over there, Jeffrey
Definitely.
Christian Whistleblower. You'll find it.
The link is provided.
Thank you very much.
That's just perfect. I mean, because that's basically what he's saying here is that the world goes on. Mm-hmm. It's done very well. And, as he brings out and all the cataclysms, the floods, everything else, the world just seems to be moving right on along. It's the Christians, though, by this determination that they have the only true religion, the only true God, that this sets off a psychosis, so to speak, that then, and I want to bring in the first principle of mentalization, I contend there is not one God, but actually 7.5 billion gods. I don't think any two people have the same image of God. I mean, we know that once you get the word God, it's no longer God, but you understand.
Yeah. And Wayne, just the people that are listening, just for fun, just to do something interesting, whenever you pull up at a stoplight, whenever you pull up at a stop sign, just take a look around and see on how many places you've got at least 2, 3, or 4 churches of different denominations, all on those 4 corners, all supposedly with the same Bible, all supposedly with the same God, but yet here's 4 different churches, 4 different budgets, 4 different churches trying to get you to go to theirs instead of the one across the street or the one next door. How can you explain that? It just doesn't make any sense.
Thank you, sir. And by the way, thank you, Donna. I'll make sure that we'll. I'm glad you're bringing this up because it's one of the things that I wrestled with when I walked away from Christianity. When I was building the mobile giving app back in 2009, when mobile giving wasn't even around, I did pretty much of doing, going across the country, talking to different churches and denominations. And it woke me up, Jeff. I think it helped wake me up that the deception in Christianity is so deep. I'll share a true story with you. I was in Alabama and went into a Southern Baptist church. And I think it was the First Baptist church.
And I love that, Wayne, because in a lot of towns you got First Baptist, Second Baptist, Third Baptist. Why don't they just all get together? Not even the Baptists can get together.
No, they can't. I mean, they're divided amongst themselves.
And let's just be plain. I was with the Church of God, Cleveland, Tennessee, and in most of the cities you'd have a black congregation and a white congregation. America is never more segregated than on Sunday morning. What does that say about your Christianity? That black folks and white folks can't even go to the same church together when they're of the same denomination. Shame on you.
You begin to think, is it the same Jesus we're talking about? So I was talking to pastors, and I wanted to see how I could help increase the tithe. I was convinced the tithe was the thing that people weren't getting in their lives.
Right.
I knew prosperity worked, but you get waylaid into this side thing. He says, young man, he says, come back here to my office. And we're going back to his office because I think that, he's going to give me a wealth of information. You know what he did? Got behind his desk, took out his keys, unlocked it, pulled out, showed 2 ledger books. He says, you see this one? This is the one I show the church board. He says, you see this one? This is the one no one sees.
Now, were you talking to a mafioso or a pastor?
I don't know. I mean, I had to check my pockets as I walked out. But here was the thing. What I began to discover when I met with church councils, church boards, et cetera, it was not about the saving of a soul. It's how much money you could get out of that soul.
Yeah, that's sad. And, Wayne, we have to be honest. We have to be frank. A lot of us have come out of, quote unquote Christianity, quote unquote religiosity, but how many people within the truther movement, how many people within the New Age movement are still, more than anything else, after a profit margin?
Oh.
And how much fighting and bickering goes on between us, flat earth, round earth, interdimensionals, demons, extraterrestrials, the things that we fight about, we sound, sometimes I sit back and I have a deja vu. Am I back in the assemblies of God or am I in the truth movement? It's the same thing. And guess what? It's not just the Christian army that shoots its wounded folks. So do the New Agers, and so do the truthers, and so do those of us and whatever it is that we're in, Wayne. I'm not sure what to call you. I'm not sure what to call me, but
I don't know. Someone asked me that, and I said, just call me a wizard.
I like that, a wizard, an alchemist, something like that.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I don't know if true wizards or true alchemists are going to be shooting at each other, but.
Well, I hope not, because, I used to have a real penchant for Nibiru, Planet X, seeing what was coming through. And
that was kind of your entrance into this world, wasn't it? So to speak?
Yeah. My early channel work was all the photography I did of the skies. Now, I was catching some phenomenal stuff.
Right.
But here I am. We're in the last quarter now of 2018, heading to the home plate. 2019's in sight.
Absolutely.
I don't care about it. I think I've come to the point, Jeff, where it's like, okay, so what? So now what do we do with it? If you're not prepared, then all of this is nothing more than fear porn. It's nothing more to titilize the imagination and the senses. And what you see is this herd mentality. Oh, whoever's got the neatest picture, the next thing that's going on here. And I ask myself, so what do you do with it?
Right.
Let's say it's all true. What do you do with it?
Yeah.
Jeff, I did a video this week, and I asked the question, so I ask you, why are you here? And I was trying to point out, because of what I've gotten from reading and studying about the Hermetic principles, that I was trying to convey that we're all gods in training. No one got it. No one got it, Jeff. People were saying we're here to help change the world. Bull. You're not here to do anything about change the world. You can't change a thing until you change this.
And I contend, Wayne, and the more I'm reading about the Hermetic principles, I know you just pointed, but I am convinced that you can't change who you are or who you're going to be until you really do begin to change this, change your body, take authority over your body, making the I of your body subservient to the you that really is. And until you do that, you're not getting anywhere. You're not going anywhere. You're going nowhere fast until you really do take care of this. And it's interesting that I say fast because fasting is one way that you can do that.
Um, well, we ought to talk about that because I think if most people began to realize, and Jeff, you ought to talk on this, is the fact I have found that if you go in with the right intention, spiritually, I believe from the Spirit, a 12-hour fast can begin to open up chakras, is the word I would use. What say you?
Well, a lot of people, that was an interesting little bar, but a lot of people know, my story over the past year. I've lost probably 80 pounds of fat, and with gaining muscle, probably 60, pounds of fat loss, and fasting has something to do with that. And that's good. That's important because it helps get you back into a place where you are physically optimized, and that helps you become spiritually optimized. But fasting does a lot more for you than just cause you to lose weight. In fact, I'm going on another extended fast on tomorrow. And if people remember the last time I think I went on a 13, 14-day fast.
It was, yeah.
And I was, you would think, oh, you're tired, you're run down, no. Once you get past day 2 or 3, for me, that's kind of the breaking point. It's a little hard for a couple of days. But you get into this zone, Wayne. You get into this place where I'm convinced that your body surrenders. Your body says, oh, crap, I've got to surrender. Your flesh, Christian terms, your flesh actually lays down, and your spirit begins to take the authority and go into the ascendancy. And the eye of the flesh, the eye of the body, the big eye, gets subjected, and then you get back on the throne, and you're energized, you're mentally aware, you're spiritually aware, you're so powerful. And I made a little mistake because I went into that prison at, I think, 14 days.
Yeah, you did.
Of a fast, which probably wasn't the smartest thing to do, but it's amazing. And even you can't start at 14 days, but like you said, Wayne, and I think Caroline said in the chat room, intermittent fasting is a great way to begin to just take authority over your body, to get your body into a better physical condition, and to get yourself into a place where the body will finally shut up a little bit, and you can hear your spirit and sense your connection with source, the divinity, whatever you call them, father or mother. And fasting, Catherine just said this, fast your way to enlightenment. I say, yes, indeed.
I agree. You said something that I think I read in the Hermetica as well, is that Hermes is instructing his son Tat, and he's explaining to him about the body, and that the body is going to pull to what the body was made of. And that's why we eat. We have to get the energy, we consume it, break it down. But I've made a practice that I only eat one meal a day. That's all I do.
That's intermittent fasting, Wayne.
Yep, one meal a day. And I go one day during the week in which I won't eat anything. Now, I will drink juice. I will keep my body hydrated.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And Critical Thinker makes a really good point. She says, I'm too skinny to fast. And, we all know that I was in a relationship with Sandra, and Sandra has almost no body fat. I probably under 2-3%. And, when you have that low of body fat, and I know Sandra and I would go around about this, but you really can't be fasting for 2, 3, 4 days, because when you're with me, I still probably have 15 pounds of body fat that I could get rid of. And if I'm fasting, my body will go into what's called ketosis, and we're not trying to make this a biology lesson, but my body will start burning that fat to get at the ketones to use those for energy, because there's no calories. But when you're like Sandra, or who was that said that she was too skinny? Critical Thinker. When you're like Sandra, a Critical Thinker, they've got no body fat, so their body will begin to break down muscle. Literally.
Yeah, that's not good.
It'll break down muscle to get the ketones and the proteins that it needs. So if you're like Sandra, a Critical Thinker, do not fast for extended periods. All you're doing is hurting yourself, and it will actually reduce your mental capacities as well. So don't do it.
Boy, that is wisdom. And let's just stop right here so everyone knows, we're all different. I think that we can use a template but how we write the stories to our individuality. And if you're, like you brought out, Jeff, it's a very good point. And I tell people all the time, learn to take the small steps first.
Right.
So often, I mean, you can do a 14-day fast. I mean, and that is extreme. It's odd that you say that, because I was meditating this week, and the word I kept on getting is that we have to become masters in this plane of existence.
We do.
Good. I'm glad it immediately resonated with you. That's what I heard. And that's
we have
one
to
of the
master our own bodies, Wayne. We have to master our own bodies. The secret science is all about it. The Hermetic is all about it. I have an inkling that the Kabbalion is going to be all about it. You have to take authority. Here's the bottom line. If you don't master your body will master you.
Oh, very good point. And Jeff, can we take that a step further?
Please.
So body and soul, as I see it, joined a pact together, and spirit was repressed. Spirit was kept out of the scene. When enlightenment comes, whatever causes spirit to become activated, and now that I'm reading, Hermes says that not all of us have spirits. Not all of us have souls. There are some in the flesh that he says cannot be defined what inhabits them. But let's get back to this point of spirit man. Is that when spirit becomes aware, there has to be a new treaty signed, because when spirit takes ascendancy, body begins to go to the lower rank, which it does not want to submit to.
That is so true. So true. And, people that are controlled by their body, people that are controlled by their soulish nature, most of them can't even see it. And it's really sad. There's a lot of beautiful, wonderful people out there potentially that are never, ever going to reach their potential. They're never, ever going to be who they are. And frankly, they're coming around again because they just refuse to learn the lessons.
Wow. I want to do this on a Friday night, and Jeff, maybe you might think about it in joining, is that I want to do a community invocation of favor on our leaders, favor on our enemies. And I love the fact of bringing the fast into this, that if we could get a number of people that would agree to it, that type of cleansing energy, Jeff, I think could do healing. I think it could do some deliverance. I think it could bring potentially a change even to the heart of our nation.
I agree. I really do. And I think, I get accused of being too much of an optimist, and that's okay. I'll wear that.
It's better than being called an asshole.
Yeah, I'll wear that. Well, I get that too. So I'm the asshole optimist. But that's okay.
Oh, my goodness. I'm going to have to get a T-shirt like that.
I still think that we have a potential to turn things around spiritually. I still think we have a potential to turn things around in this country. Little bit, tiny chance, but I still think it's there. I feel like Jim Carrey, in Dumb and Dumber. So you're telling me there's a chance?
It may be poquito, but there is a little bit of a one. I have hope. So. As I told you, I have read some of the most, folks, I just want to say thank you. Everyone that has given today, I want to thank you, and I'll split that up with Jeff.
Don't forget, YouTube takes like 40% of that. So.
They do. Got to pay the master. But people's lives are changing, Jeff. On the favor invocation this week, and people are leaving these testimonies. One person who was a waitress, she said that she did this on a Friday. I believe it was a Friday.
Right. You told me this.
Yes, and she had to work on Sunday. She said she got more tips in that shift on Sunday, which I guess is a slower shift. She made more in one day than she did in 2 months.
That's amazing. That's great stuff.
Another person wrote and said that they were in dire need of transportation. Things were so bad. Husband and wife joined, did the ceremony, then the cleansing. She said, I think it was 3 or 4 days later, a car showed up. Then she wrote and she said, now that we got the car, guess what? We're going to increase our income.
Isn't that amazing? What video was this on, Wayne? What was it called?
The one that we're doing on this is on invoking favor.
Invoking favor.
Yeah, it's in the archives.
And let me just say something that's very important, and I know this probably can probably go without saying, but if you do have a blessing that comes into your life and you talk about getting a car, make sure that you give thanks.
Yes.
Make sure that you return thanks. Don't be a jerk and not give thanks, and don't be a jerk and not be thankful, because if you're not thankful, your lack of gratitude can wreck that blessing that's been brought into your life.
By the way, it says that there's only one thing the all has a problem with, and that is a person who shows irreverence.
Oh, and irreverence and ingratitude are first cousins, that's for sure.
Yeah. You know what I have found myself, and I'll just, come clean. What a Freudian slip, because when I'm in the shower, coming clean, my prayer, I've always had a praise part of me. There's a part of my spirit that sings to the all. I noticed that the frequencies are changing, and there is I don't know, profoundness is not the word. There is what do you call it? It's sacred may not be the right word, but it's changing. There's a sense. So anyway.
I think the vibration, the frequency is changing.
Thank you, sir. That's what I was probably saying.
The frequency is changing. And if you're not picking it up, cousin, you need to get yourself in tune, because the frequency is definitely changing. And if you're tuned in, you can feel it change. And the beauty of, Wayne inspiring us to study into the Hermetic principles as we begin to get into the principle of vibration, and we realize, oh, I can change this. I can modulate this. I can regulate this. And you can even help people in your life change it as well. And guess what? If there's people in your life that are resonating at frequencies that aren't conducive to you modulating to a frequency you want to be in, you have the choice to not be with those people as well.
Well, you did a teaching on vibration, and folks, go back to Jeff's channel and watch that. It was great, Jeff. I was taking notes on that. Because
well, thanks. That's the one that you inspired me to go into the principles, and that was just my take on the principle of vibration.
Well, I was waiting to see what would come forth from your spirit, and it's beautiful. It's adding to mine, and that's what I think it's all about. And
Wayne, that's the great thing, because you could teach about the Hermetic principles, and I could share about the Hermetic principles, and Heidi could, and Jenny could, and Rex could, and I could go on down that list. And you would say, well, why do I want to hear 5 people talk about the same thing? Because you're not going to get the same thing. You're going to get 5 unique perspectives, and I think you're going to get 5 valuable perspectives. And with something as important, I mean, there's 7 Hermetic principles, right?
Yeah.
So you ought to get at least 7 perspectives, I think, to be very well-rounded. And hey, I want to hear what you have to say about it. I want to hear what other people have to say about it, because I'm not so arrogant anymore to think that, and anymore is the key phrase. I'm not so arrogant anymore to think that I will understand and get every single thing within a passage. I'm very open to learning from my brothers and my sisters and all my cousins.
Well, you said one of the things we had to do is we had to get Jenny on here because, Jenny is a person that, with Franz Barden's book, Initiation into Hermetics, I'd love to get her take on this and get her wisdom from what she's learned.
I know Jenny's only 13, but she's really got a lot of wisdom. She's definitely an old soul.
She really does have quite the gift. That's the only thing I can say.
It is a gift. Does. I'd say let's get Heidi in on, but Heidi be like, I don't care about this. Let's do some start.
Well, we ought to think about that. Now, I want to say something. I want to give you credit, because where credit should be given and due. So when you were teaching on that, I was doing some work. I'm setting myself up. I've decided I'm going to set up my own little alchemy lab. And
Nice.
so I'm starting to get things together on that. But I'm listening to you, right? Now, I was heavily involved in politics, very conservative politics. Amongst they talk about secret societies. I was in one.
Mhm. Well,
Um,
Wayne, I ran a state for Pat
I
Buchanan.
know
You
it.
can get more conservative than that.
So you know what I'm about to say. So I'm listening to Jeff, folks. Now I've been studying, I've been reading. I have a great memory, but I'm walking up the stairs from the basement listening to you, and I get this thought about Kavanaugh and everything that was going on with that. My polarity immediately changed, Jeff.
Yep.
I could sense it. And what I heard this voice of Hermes speak changed the polarity.
Exactly. I'm getting chills because it's so easy to be drawn back into frequencies that you used to be habitually in. Yeah, we're talking about Jenny Moonstone.
Yes.
Very easy to be pulled back into polarities and frequencies that you used to habitually be in.
Yes, yes. Jeff, I'm hearing your voice, and I stopped on the stairs and I spoke out. I do not receive this. I changed this polarity to a thought of favor, and immediately I got back into the flow. And I said, I got to tell that dude. I'm thinking to say, Jeff, I got to tell that to Jeff, because right there at that exact moment. Now, that's a moment that will last in my memory for many, many years because it was so poignant, Jeff.
That's so good, Wayne, because it just shows us that, no matter how advanced and evolved we become spiritually, all it takes is just one stimulus and you can be pulled right back down or right back over or right back into a frequency that you don't wish to resonate in anymore. And, a lot of truth is said in error, a lot of error is said in truth, a lot of things are encrypted. And I'm thinking about Paul, the false apostle Paul, encouraging people, and again, saying the truth, but in an error, to take every thought captive. Now, he wants us to take every thought captive into his fear and guilt control matrix, but yet he's expressing a truth. We need to take every thought captive to keep ourselves at the polarity, at the resonance, and at the frequency that we choose to live in. And some people, that sounds daunting. How can I control every thought? Well, you just start by controlling one, then you control two, then you control three, then you control 30. And before you know it, you are in that place where you're modulating and regulating your thoughts and your frequencies and the polarity and the vibration that you're in. And as Wayne is sharing with you, and as I'm living, it changes your life. You'll never be the same.
Uh, as you were talking, because I'm telling everyone on my channel, we're learning how to begin to capture that thought.
Yep.
And turn that thought into becoming, as Franz Barden says, learning how to make your wishes come true.
Exactly. And learning how to make sure it's your wishes that are coming true.
Oh, that is, how many of us get wishes that it's not ours to begin with?
You're making wishes come true, cousin. You're just not always making your wishes come true.
Woo, folks.
And don't think there's not somebody out there using you to make their wishes come true, because guess what? You can use this stuff on other people too. And that's where we make sure that we don't go that direction. But you need to make sure that it's your wishes that are coming true. Let's just leave it at that.
Well, you did a one on vampires. And I thought the metaphors in that, the allegories were perfect.
And Wayne, think about it. If you're in a situation where people are just pounding you with negative energy, we know energy is just energy. It might be unbalanced. It might be chaotic. But if you're in a place where you're going to get pounded by energy, why not take that energy, transmute it, use it for good within yourself, and let that person just wear themselves out? And maybe when they get worn out enough, then you might be able to help speak some truth into their life, or they might get worn out enough to say, what am I doing? Or they might just get worn out enough to go away, or you can go away without any conflict. But either way, you win, and hopefully you can get that person into a position where they have an opportunity to win instead of rant and rave and rage.
Boy, Jeff, it's coming hard and heavy as you were talking. You in your vampire one, I loved how you brought it out. Is the fact that when we talk about psychic vampire, seeing the vampire legend, is that it feeds off the energy, the blood of others, and that sustains itself. So we can carry this forward to our present day, where we walk in an environment where there are many psychic vampires
Oh,
pulling in
yeah.
our energy. And so I just want to give an example. Yesterday, my wife and I went to the grocery store. Now, my wife hates the grocery store. she she just doesn't like it. Me, nah, I just go singing and it's cool. But I did an experiment. And I said, today, I'm going to allow my influence of favor to begin to encompass a 10-yard circle around me. We're standing and checking out, right? And people are bitching. I mean, people are, yeah, it's just typical. And I closed my eyes and I just said, my favor extends out. The next thing I know, we're getting pulled out of the line into a new line that just opened up. The woman is beautiful. She's laughing. She's smiling.
Mhm.
Coincidence?
No, Wayne, that's true. And I believe that there's people out there, there's beings out there, and this is going to get a little bit crazy. I believe that there's beings out there that they may not be human. They may be evolved humans. They may be coming back from the future. They may be from different places. But I think there's beings out there that we would, with our simplistic frame of mind, identify them as vampires. And whether they feed on blood or whether they feed on energy is, for this example, irrelevant. But I think that there's some of these beings that are just as sick of this fear and guilt control matrix as we are. And even though they do vampires fast, that's funny.
Only on vegetarians.
Yeah, they probably don't want to, but
That's cute. High five, folks.
Exactly, boom. I think there's beings out there, Wayne, that I think there's non-human entities that are ready, willing, able, and interested to join with redeemed, awakened humans in battle against the rulers and makers of this fear and guilt control matrix. I'll just leave it at that.
Well, you have good company, sir, because Hermes teaches us that not all bodies have spirits, not all bodies have souls. God gives everyone, they all gives everyone reason, but he gives only those few mind, spirit. And Hermes says that there are many bodies that walk around that cannot be described what inhabits them. You did a thing, and boy, this is all coming full circle on the golems.
Yeah.
How past cultures could actually make human beings. I mean, it's not that difficult, apparently.
Apparently not.
I mean, I heard that the Hebrews would actually make golems to go out and fight their battles.
They would, and they made them out of what? Clay. Guess what they're made out of? Clay.
Well, where'd that come from?
But Wayne, how about this? I mean, for at least 2,000 years, probably 10,000 years, we have been, since it's a Sunday morning, we'll wax biblical, we've been the tail, not the head.
This is true.
We have been overcome. We haven't been overcoming.
We've been the bottom and not the top.
If we get a little shambaki. But
and by the way, I just got to put this in Deuteronomy 28.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what if, as we learn about energy, as we learn about frequency, what if, as we learn about transmutation, what if we started going after some of these people that are putting out this bad energy and putting out this unbalanced energy? What if we turn the tables, and instead of letting them try to suck us dry and feed off of us, what if we went after them and started purifying and balancing and ordering their energy?
Holy crap. Yeah, I mean, Jeff, this is so freaking interesting, because transmutation.
Exactly.
Now, I don't know. Listen, I have little quirks that I like to do. I like.
You were transmuting at the grocery store, Wayne.
Yes.
You were creating a 10-yard bliss bubble for, I hate that term, but that's the only thing I could think of. But if every one of us created that, we can create these 10-yard circles of, what would it be, of peace and harmony. And
it would suck negative energy like a vacuum cleaner.
It would.
Holy crap, Jeff. Do you realize that what we could do? Wow. All right. So the
all
American...
we're lacking is the will.
Yes. In the American horror stories, American Apocalypse, one of the keys now for the bad guy who is represented by the devil.
Are you talking about the TV show?
Yes.
You know, I've just seen snippets of that. I probably need to take a look at it.
You need to watch this series. I've never watched it,
It's
but
called
someone...
American Apocalypse? Yes,
and watch season 8. Oh, whoa. This thing is so deep. Satan is in the reincarnation after the apocalypse has happened.
Wow. One
of the keys for a master of either white or black is becoming a master of transmutation. And
Wayne, they can't make it any more plain, can they?
They can't. I mean, I'm sitting here, the folks, I'm wearing a sweatshirt, but the hair is riding on the back of me because this is not just freaking coincidental, Jeff. Yep. There's something going on here.
My suntan goosebumps have goosebumps.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's exactly what this episode was about, was the 7 trials.
Oh, and here's an interesting, John A. Senecal says, what if vampires, and he puts in parentheses, Anunnaki, could be infected by our diseases?
John, I love where your head's at, my friend.
And what if we could inject energetic disease into them? And what if an energetic disease to one of those beings is positivity, balance, order? What if that's the virus for them? And just by being us, Wayne, there could be a new sheriff in town.
There could be, very quickly.
Just do this. And
this is what they're afraid of.
We've been put here for, Wayne. And somewhere there's some gods, somewhere there's a council of gods right now, Wayne, looking down and saying, you know what? Maybe these two idiots might be getting somewhere finally.
They're budging each other. Are you kidding those knuckleheads? They're actually talking something that means something here. Now we've got everybody looking down.
Going, somewhere, Wayne, there's a pool going on that nobody won because they didn't pick you or me. I'll guarantee you.
I can see the one god hanging this laughing going, yeah, I knew my boys were going to do it. Well, we've got a community, and I love the allegory of the virus because transmutation is just merely the constant of energy is always there.
Absolutely.
We've allowed these dark overlords for millennia, Jeff, they were using our energy, transmuting our energy, and feeding back to us a virus.
Absolutely. And Wayne, you and I are proof positive of the age-old adage that even a blind squirrel finds a nut now and again.
Once in a while we can find 2.
Yep.
Oh, Jeff, I'm going to tell you what. I just want to say thanks to everyone that's in here. Thank you for stopping by. All the folks that have made donations, thank you. I'll make sure Jeff gets. Don't
worry about it. I owe you far more.
No. You know what, Jeff? Here's the thing. For a Sunday morning, most people go into the pulpit. They're pulled into the pit.
Ooh, and I love that.
We are just simply saying to them, this is hope. This is hope. This is hope not only for the individual, your loved ones, your family, your co-workers, our country, our planet.
Mm-hmm. And, again, going back to somebody called him the false apostle Paul. I like that. But, we sometimes words like faith, we don't want to address them because they sound too churchy to us. But faith is the substance of things hoped for. It is the evidence of things not seen. And maybe you don't want to call it faith, but we do have substance of the things we're hoping for. Maybe you don't want to call it faith, but we do have evidence of things not yet seen. We're making changes, ladies and gentlemen. And I am I am full of faith this morning, Wayne Steiger. Thank you for helping me get here. I am full of faith. I am full of hope. And once again, I've read the last page in the book, and I think that one way or the other, we win, Wayne.
Oh, we are going to win. We were destined. Jeff, I say this, and I'm serious. We are gods in training.
We are.
And whatever eventuality that you, Jeff, will assume and ascend to, this is our proving ground.
Yep. Nice to see Costa Rica Spanish online. I haven't seen her before.
Well, thank you. I just want to thank everyone. And Jeff, this is the message of hope. It transcends religion. It allows every person to be in a room to have their own point of view, but yet we can unite in something that's so tangibly connected to us.
Absolutely. And Wayne, I hope that won't be upset at me doing this, but speaking, to an audience that I don't always speak to, if there are, beings and entities out there that are non-human, that are for some reason listening to us, someone puts a nutty squirrel girl. That was cute. And you want to work with us and help us and, maybe even teach us and instruct us. I'm open to contact from you as long as it's not invasive, spiritual, or physical contact. I refuse that, forbid that. But other than that, if you want to contact me, contact me.
I think they're here. If there's one thing that I knew coming out of the Christian religion was I was acutely aware of the spiritual world.
Absolutely.
As you and I called. When you look at the gift of the Spirit, there is that gift of spiritual discernment.
Yes.
And, it's when we get to pierce that veil. So they're here. They're here. And I tell you, after reading more on this, the interpretation of demons has always been to the negative, but the word demons does not mean what we interpreted here in the Western culture.
It doesn't.
Thank you. Could you expand on that a little bit? I know that, we're at the point, but let's talk about, I think this is important.
Wayne, even the word archon doesn't necessarily mean what we think it means.
Interesting.
Because archon can mean just ruler. And there are beings that are beyond us. I just put my email in the chat room. There are beings that are beyond us, Wayne, that we would call rulers because they can rule over more than we do because they're, of a higher order. And I'm not saying there's good archons. I'm just saying that there's things that we might identify as archons that might not be totally malevolent. I mean, the old adage, the enemy of your enemy is your friend.
Yeah.
And we're facing a great battle here, and I'm not willing, and feel free to contradict me, Wayne, but I'm not willing to refuse assistance and help from any right-minded and well-intentioned being.
I had a visitor that told me, they said that their biggest regret that they have is that we don't call on them anymore.
Oh, wow. That's powerful stuff right there.
Now, I don't get into a lot of, but I do get visits. But
that's powerful.
That's the what, and it was an energy, what it spoke, but it says we don't call on them anymore.
Yeah.
We're going to start calling them.
You got to be super careful, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, and listen, you don't go into, now I got Tombstone in my head, you don't go into a gunfight carrying a knife, Doc Holliday's going to be there.
Not with any hope of success, you don't.
What I tell the spirits is that I'm your huckleberry.
Exactly.
And that's the way it's supposed to. Doesn't the Bible teach us, didn't Paul write that we are supposed to take dominion? Isn't that one of his things in the book of Ephesians? It was always the thing that always tripped me up. Ephesians 6:12, when he gives the hierarchy.
Yep.
And then that's why folks, you got to go ahead.
So Paul gives us this hierarchy in Ephesians 6, and we've always assumed that all of those beings are bad beings.
Yeah.
Paul is telling us again, there's all these beings out there, and we know through the Hermetic laws and just through common sense, they're not all bad. There's polarity.
There has to be polarity.
So there are a lot of beings out there, folks, that, there's some of them we need to worry about and be aware of, but there's some of them out there that want to be our neighbors.
And they're friendlies.
Yeah. Won't you be my neighbor?
Won't you be? I got creepy ideas now, Mr. Rogers in my head. It's like, oh no, he's moved next door. But
and Mr. Franks a lot makes a great point. What is bad? Where does good turn into bad? Where does bad turn into good? And I'm going to talk about this later today, but when I was living with Sandra, we'd be in the same apartment, right? And she'd be sitting next to me on the couch saying, "It's cold in here," and go to the thermostat. I'm like, wait a minute, it's hot in here. Where does cold become hot? Where does hot become cold? Where does good become bad? Where does bad become good? Where does right become wrong? It's all relative.
Ooh, now you got me thinking on this because, as knowledge comes forth, here's been my problem with exorcism. Did this demon suddenly convert to Christianity? I mean, what if you have a Muslim demon? What if you got a Hindu demon? He'd be telling you to take your Jesus and, so wait a minute. What if it could be that they're merely waiting for our command and they're going to manifest themselves however you determine them to be?
Or, Wayne, what if, here's a thought, what if the quote-unquote Christians and the quote-unquote demons are working together?
Ooh.
Think of that. I'll keep you in business if you keep me in business.
Well, how fortuitous.
I'll keep pretending to possess people, and you keep pretending to cast me out, and I'll keep pretending to leave, and I get to go get 7 more worse than me and come back, and you and me got this thing going, cousin. We'll just keep it going forever and ever and forever.
So
but
what?
Glory, heaven forbid that somebody like Steiger or Darty or Bear or Vandenberg or Moonstone figures it out and lets us know it ain't the name of Jesus. It's the intention and the power. And, God's forbid that they figure out that they can do it without us.
Woo!
Then the game's up.
Oh, yeah. And let's just carry this step one further, Jeff. So the cat who writes the modern day Bible, actually his first book was the book on demonology.
Yeah, that was, and I had that book, King James. Yeah, I've got it.
Now, what happened there?
What happened there?
What happened there? I don't know. Jeff, we have made...
Sorry, Wayne, I'm sending a wholly inappropriate...
No, that's all right. That's all right. This has been good. Scott says, life is but a dream. There's actually more truth to that than what you can ever imagine. Seriously.
That's a great line from Star Trek V.
Yeah.
Maybe life is but a dream.
I'm convinced
Who
it is.
said it's a dream within a dream?
Well, didn't Rod Sterling have that kind of thought that,
yeah, but one of the great poets, it might have been Lord Tennyson again.
I think we quoted him twice already.
Did we?
Well, this was before we went live.
It wasn't on air,
yeah.
What did Tennyson say before? It was
yeah, of course when you want to call it, it's like whoops.
Life is a dream within a dream. That might have been Tennyson as well, but yeah.
Well, if sleep begins to take over from the conscious to the subconscious, superconscious,
where does sleep begin, end, and waking begins?
That's the point. I mean, I now know what it means to program my subconscious. I can do that now. I understand how that's done. But now I ask, the dreams that I'm having, they're different.
Edgar Allan Poe, A Dream Within a Dream.
Ah, thank you. By the way,
my smart mother, who always surprises me, I thought I had her, Wayne. I asked her who wrote the first detective novel in American history, and I thought I had her dead to rights. She took a drink of her tab and said, Edgar Allan Poe. I'm like, damn it. How did you know?
The woman be smart.
She is sharp.
All right, so here's one for you. Where was the guy that I always think about Edgar Allan Poe is Vincent Price.
I think of John Cusack as Edgar Allan Poe. Did you ever see that movie? The Raven, I think it was called, and John Cusack played Edgar Allan Poe masterfully.
I'll have to do that one. By the way, I think one of the best horror flicks I've ever seen is Room 1408.
Yes, that was brilliant.
Oh, man. I mean, did Cusack play?
Mark Centerstein confirms it. It was Edgar Allan Poe.
It was Edgar Allan Poe. Okay, cool. Yeah, that 1408, that's probably one of the best psychological horror stories I've seen.
It was brilliant. It really was.
It's just great. Oh, man. Jeff, we got to do this more often.
Let's do it. And I'd be glad to get together with you on Friday nights, Wayne. Let me know.
Hey, you know what? I got Raven Wolf coming on this Friday, but let's do a week from this Friday. Jeff, let's think about bringing in a group in, and let's do this. Let's do this favor ritual.
I'd love to do it. That'd be great.
All right, sir. I would be honored to have you on here. We're going to have some good time. I just want to give a shout out to Warrior Princess. How are you doing, my dear? Got to get you back on, and we'll get you your food bank. I think about you all the time. She is fabulous. I mean, that is a spirit that, you know what, you just that. Let me say something about Warrior Princess. I've never met her personally, but the energy that she puts off, she's got that favor factor.
She does. She's made me cry more than once, Wayne.
Because you know what? You just want to be next to her. You know?
You
it's like, it's like, yeah. Jeff, you are truly a gifted soul, and it's just a privilege to share this journey with you. We're going in our second year on this. You're not your normal Sunday morning, and I think that's a testimony to the audience.
It is, and I'm looking forward to doing one live together from the.
Yeah, when you get out of the penalty box. I mean, this is like playing hockey. I mean, crying.
Well, I contested it, and they said, okay, 10 to 14 days for them to respond. That was about. So I think I got 5 or 6 days left is the bottom line.
Okay. Well, folks, if
you know what, Wayne, once the weather turns out there, I'll make a commitment. I'll come out and I'll grab an Airbnb, and we'll do one of these days, not too long from now, we'll do the Not Your Normal Sunday Morning show, if possible. I don't know what the Wi-Fi situation is, live from the gravesite of Doc Holliday.
Oh, yeah. I'd love to do that. That would be
in our prime.
Couldn't we get Rex Bear? We could drag him up from Paducah Springs.
Derek Rose isn't too far away.
No. We ought to get together and just kind of have the equivalency of what we had in Clearwater.
Absolutely.
Bring you out here to Colorado. Bring Rex in. I'd love to get Jenny and Heidi in on this. I mean, I'll tell you, the first time I met Jenny Moonstone, I knew that woman had knowledge.
Have you met Jenny personally?
I've not met her personally. I've had her on my radio show and, of course, on the channel. But you've met her.
Yes, she came to the extravaganza of enlightenment, and I was really impressed by Jenny. I don't get that impressed by a lot of people, but I was really impressed by Jenny. And part of Jenny's charm over me is she reminds me a lot of my oldest daughter. So she's got that going for her. But Jenny she's an old soul. She's a very wise soul. And Jenny Moonstone is good people, no doubt about it.
Boy, as you were saying, thank you. I just heard in my spirit, there are those that have been placed among us that help the gods in training.
Ooh, isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? And Jenny and I just did a great show maybe a week or two ago with Heidi about the ego. So you might search the interview.
Was that over on her channel or
that was on my channel?
On your channel, okay.
No, I think that was on Heidi's channel because I was on timeout again.
Okay.
And Wayne, I think you'll be interested in this. I didn't invite you to take a look at this. I think it's a week from Tuesday. For the first time ever, Bob Sanders, the facilitator, if you will, of the Great White Brotherhood, is going to be interviewed live on YouTube by Jay Campbell and I on our, what's our show called? The Last Stand. And Wayne, I'd invite you to watch that and to watch it objectively, and, feel free to
so that's Tuesday. When?
I think it's a week from Tuesday.
Okay. All right. That would be, about the 23rd.
Yeah, I don't know what that date is, but it's a week from Tuesday because we wanted to make sure I was off of YouTube timeout by then.
By the way, I'm just going to speak a blessing of favor over you, Jeff, that the days of having anything interrupting your favor, your flow, are over. You have favor with everyone, and your message is a vibration that resonates. I think the days of these type of incidences are over with. So
thank you, sir. And you've helped me. You sent me that thing about fair use, and I'm putting that on all my videos now. So that makes a big difference too, I'm sure.
It does. And when I show any kind of material, I always put my PowerPoint, I put that up there because we're not here to harm anyone.
Not
That's
at
the
all.
last thing Jeff Doherty or R. Wayne Steiger wants to do. We're here to, if anything, to enrich that experience that you have. And so this is, we're going to take and we're going to transmutate this negative into a very positive. And Jeff, I'll say this, I think that there is as in nature, that when the flow is blocked and we recognize what's blocking the flow, there's going to be a rush coming forward to you, my friend.
Absolutely. Thank you. I received that.
You're a good man and a good soul, and you do a lot of good. And folks, that's what we all need. Well, Jeff, you want to say anything to people this week? What's going on?
No, just, Jay Campbell again tomorrow night. We've got Rex coming back on, Heidi coming back on. And I don't know why the consequential rapscallions have followed by the wayside, but I'll get with Scotty. And
yeah, well, how is Scotty? I haven't seen him around.
Scotty was moving around the country, doing some work and stuff. And then, of course, I was moving around the country.
You were moving around the country.
Doing some stuff. And it just kind of got sideways on us. But Scotty's, one of my dear friends. I love Scotty. Nice to see Hawaiian girl Beth. Haven't seen her in a minute. And yeah, I'll contact Scotty and we'll get it back together, and we'll get Rocky Stucci back, and we'll get
Magenta Pixie involved. I've got her in my mind as well.
I'm about due for another show with Magenta. I'm about finished with Pixie, actually, how she goes.
Is it Magenta Pixie?
Her latest book, yeah. Magenta Pixie is, her name, and like the 9 when they talk to her, they call her Pixie. So I've taken to calling her Pixie.
Okay, well, you want to be.
We've had 2 great shows on my channel. If you want to see some good stuff, just search and look up those shows with Magenta Pixie. She's definitely new age. I'm definitely not, but we're reaching across the aisle and creating symmetry between us and synergy between us. I think that's very, very important.
It's just degrees.
It is.
That's all it is.
Where does new age end and truther begin?
Well, I was thinking about something about new age. Actually, it's just the current age.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, because you can't have a past or a new. It's the current.
I love me some Magenta Pixie. I really do.
She's cool. Well, my friend, we've gone over, but God, it's been a good time.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jeff.
Absolutely.
We've had a full house in here. Thank you, everyone, again, to all the moderators. Y'all are just great. And Jeff, we'll be on your channel then next week.
Absolutely, we will. And, I just, lots of love and light to everybody, and I don't hold anything against anyone. And you know what? This life is too short to be mad at anybody or to hold any grudges against anybody. And when you hold grudges against people, it doesn't do anything to them, but it does harm you. So let that stuff go. And
we just speak favor over the audience today.
Absolutely.
Whatever it is that you're needing, what I have found most is that if you have favor in your life, things begin to line up. So,
yeah, even those that aren't making themselves known in the chat, we call favor on you. And
yes,
Wayne, we both know, and a lot of this audience knows that I have seen profound miracles manifest through calling favor. There's a person that he and I absolutely hated each other, and now we're all broed up. So miracles can happen through favor.
Boy, and isn't that what it said in the law of correspondence? Is that opposites? So laws of polarity is that they can be reconciled.
They can be reconciled.
Yeah.
Wow, that's powerful. I didn't even think about that, Wayne.
Yeah.
That is powerful. They can be reconciled.
Oh man, I'm excited.
Yep.
What Lynn always likes is I always give her a big hug, and she says, "Well, must have been a good show." And I said, "Man, I'm filled up with it."
Absolutely, Jerry. I don't hate you. I don't know why you say I love to hate you.
Who? What?
Jerry Runk says Jeff loves to hate me.
Jerry, he's
just because he looks like John Wayne Gacy on his meme.
Jerry's cool. He is one of the family, and there's no doubt about it. And you know what? This family is growing. When I'm over on your channel and see it, it's a community that is definitely weaving together here.
Absolutely.
Well, Jeff, I'm going to let you go. Going to go have some pancakes with my wife. So,
alrighty then.
You do well, my friend. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, everyone's coming in. Appreciate you, Jeff. And
Thanks for making me feel bad about having nobody to have pancakes with, Wayne.
well, you're always invited here, my friend.
But seriously, we will make that happen. We will get out there and go to Doc Holliday's grave, and I'm gonna have to walk over his grave by Johnny Ringo.
What is that? The famous line what do you say? Johnny Ringo looks like someone. What was the line? And I see the scene. Looks like
because Johnny Ringo comes out there expecting it to be Wyatt Earp.
Yeah.
And there's Doc, and Doc says, "Why Johnny Ringo? You look like somebody just walked over your grave."
Grave. One of the best Westerns of all times, my friend.
The best Western of all time.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeff, thanks, buddy.
Val Kilmer was robbed. That was Oscar-worthy.
That is
material.
One of his best roles. I really do happen to think that.
I don't know who won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor that year, but they stole it from Val Kilmer.
I think so. There was a lot of biasness there.
All righty then. Thanks,
all right.
Wayne.
Thank you, my friend. All right,
Take
folks.
care.
Be good to you, everyone. Bye-bye.